I'm James Hebert. I'm a nutritional epidemiologist and a cancer epidemiologist. I am Health Sciences Distinguished Professor of Epidemiology in the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics in the Arnold School of Public Health, and I'm also the Director of the Cancer Prevention and Control Program here at USC, and it's a statewide program. Yeah, I grew up in a rural area. We grew a lot of our own food, so I got interested in nutrition very early on in life. That was my early childhood, and because I came from a relatively small town, I wanted to go to a big city to go to college. So I was fortunate to get a full scholarship to go to Boston University, where I started out in biomedical engineering and then ended up doing a degree in biology. Following that, I took a break. I went to Colorado. I owned a construction company for about 4 years, took the money from that, and then went off to India for a year. Spent about a year out of the country, and when I came back, I went to the University of Washington and got a master's degree in environmental health sciences and epidemiology. Then I went back to India, where I did my field work for both my master's degree and my doctorate. I fell in love with India once again, with Indian food, so food became a big theme here. Then came back and did a doctorate at the only university at the time that had a combined nutrition and epidemiology doctoral program, and that was at Harvard University. Oh, it was like being shot out of a cannon. I had never been on an airplane until I went to Europe on this trip. So I'd never really been out of the country. I had some contact with different cultures through my experiences at BU. So going overland to India changed everything for me. I mean, it was the most marvelous experience of my life. Completely changed my personal life and my professional life. Yeah, that's a good question. So I came to South Carolina because I was recruited by the then dean of the School of Public Health, Harris Pastides. He and I were both at the University of Massachusetts. We're both cancer epidemiologists, as many of you may know, and I would teach my course in nutritional epidemiology every other year at Worcester, Amherst. So he and I got to know one another over the 10 years that I was there. He came here in 1998, and then he recruited me to come to be chair of the Department of Epidemiology and Biostatistics in 1999. So diet, of course, was an important part of my life with my agrarian background and my experience with Indian food and food from different cultures. One thing that stuck out for me when I was a kid was I had a teacher in the 4th grade that said something about when you get chafed by your belt, you'll get cancer. And I didn't really even know what cancer was, but I knew it didn't sound good, and it just stuck in my mind. When I came here to South Carolina, there were a large number of people who were very interested in cancer research, and a lot of them had an interest in inflammation as well. And I reflected on that time growing up. If I got injured at the end of the summer or the fall, I would always heal much more quickly, because that's when the crops came in. That's when the food was the healthiest. The food you grow at home will be inherently healthy. It'll be bright and colorful and fresh, and those are anti-inflammatory foods. So again, the diet theme and connecting it to cancer has been a really important thread that's run through my life and my career in general. We have several projects that I'm the principal investigator on. One of them is a project focusing on metabolic dysregulation and early onset colorectal cancer. So this is an interesting study where we're doing a human project in parallel with a mouse project, looking at the effect of diet on inflammatory and metabolic markers that are important in cancer. And then at the end of that study, we do a crossover from the humans to the mice, which is super interesting, and I don't think anybody's ever done that before. That one's funded by the National Cancer Institute, and it is the largest grant ever to the University of South Carolina from the NCI. I'm also co-PI of a clinical translational research center, which is funded by the National Institute of General Medical Sciences. And then I'm also the co-PI of the Cancer Prevention and Control Research Network, which is focused on dissemination and implementation research, and it's funded by the CDC. How does South Carolina benefit from this? Well, one way that we benefit South Carolina is through the results of these studies. Another way is reputationally, it's related to that. So we publish more papers than anybody in the university, and they're cited more than anybody in the university gets cited. So reputationally, it's good. And these 3 grants that I mentioned total just about $20 million. So it also brings a lot of money into the university. Students get attracted to success. A lot of students, including ones from overseas, they read my papers in the literature and then they'll contact me. So they find me, but how I choose them is because I firmly believe in the concept of enlightened self-interest. So I like to identify people who are highly motivated to do what I call the right thing. And what I mean by that, altruistic, scientifically oriented, so skeptical, inquisitive, hardworking. Those are the kinds of people that I will select among those who select me. So the students really benefit from this. And they benefit in the same way the state does. They are getting all these publications, all these citations, they're feeling good about themselves, they're advancing the science, and that's really what it's all about. One of my frustrations that I was reminded of just this week is, although we've made progress in lowering cancer rates across the board, the difference or disparity between blacks and whites remains. It's really quite large. We really need to make inroads into that, and that is a major focus of my research, and it's related to what we were talking about before in terms of inflammation. Yeah, I definitely want to continue working in many of the same ways I'm currently working, so attracting students, working closely with students, having really good colleagues from around the university. One of the purposes of this video is to reach out to people who may be interested in coming to University of South Carolina. So if you have any interest in what I'm doing, please do not hesitate to contact me.